The country is angry. Individual Americans are angry. I am angry.
Senator Max Baucus is talking about bonuses paid out to people who worked for Wall Street companies bailed out by taxpayers.
The audit also revealed that even kitchen assistants and elevator operators got bonuses over $7,000.
And while members of Congress railed on the House and Senate floor about bonuses being paid out to executives of companies that were getting taxpayer bailouts, you may find this a little unsettling. Congress members on both sides of the aisle, including those who spoke out against those bonuses, are giving bonuses with taxpayer money to their staffers.
I'm very frugal with the taxpayer dollar, and I'm not afraid to dismiss employees that do not do a good job, and I reward employees that do a good job.
Tampa Representative Kathy Castor says while she does give out bonuses to some of her staffers, she also says she returned more than $179,000 to the Treasury that could have been used for office expenses. The bonus connotation, it leaves a bad taste with many people.
Well, it's a productivity incentive.
Castor isn't alone. Using a congressional database, we compared staff salaries by quarter and found a dramatic increase in the fourth quarter. That's when bonuses are given out. Castor's payroll went up $26,000 in the fourth quarter last year. Sarasota Congressman Vern Buchanan's went up $28,000. Bartow's Adam Putman's payroll up $34,000, although he has the lowest office expenses of the Florida delegation. Ocala Congressman Cliff Stearns, remember him?
If a company's in bankruptcy, you don't give out bonuses.
Some may say the country's on the verge of bankruptcy, but Stearns' payroll went up $34,000 in the fourth quarter bonus period.
Well, we think that if they've done a good job, they're merited a bonus, and it's based on bonuses, based on their work.
Tarpon Springs Congressman Gus Bilirakis handed out $72,000 extra in the fourth quarter.
If it's based on the merit and they're going above and beyond, then I feel they're entitled to a bonus.
But retiring Congressmember Ginny Brown Waite, who's been close to invisible since announcing her retirement, is the champ in this area as her payroll went up $151,000 in the fourth quarter, which averages an extra $8,000 for each of her 17 staffers.
Giving bonuses to people right now where people are looking for jobs, I just don't think it wasn't a good decision.
Senator Bill Nelson agrees. His office has given staff bonuses in the past, but he says due to the economic climate where so many don't have jobs, he couldn't justify a bonus for staffers. Clearly not everyone in Congress agrees.
Oh, I believe that they misuse our money, and unfortunately that's the reality in our country.
And while every taxpayer we talked to felt that way, for many on Capitol Hill, the end of the year means it's time for the bonus round, and you're paying for it. And that's this week's What's That Costing You? Most computers run an operating system called Windows, but you're probably aware that Macintosh has a whole campaign pointing out what it says are flaws with that operating system.
PCs have a lot of security problems,
But the so-called problems with Windows are nothing compared to the problems with the computer software system Pasco County bought for its utility department. They bought it in 2005. It's called Cogsdale.
We were very candid with them about how unhappy we were and how we had lost confidence.
Mike Nurenbrock is the Pasco director of the Office of Management and Budget. We first met him in 2008 and asked why the county bought the Cogsdale software.
We'd heard problems of implementation with other systems, and we wanted to try and avoid those.
But in thousands of pages of internal memos we obtained, Pasco employees blamed the system with complaints about defects ranging from the system locks up when hitting the clear button, errors still exist when a customer is billed, voided and attempted to rebill. There's an error with transfer balance. It creates an unbalanced entry, an error message, and on and on and on. But now, the county has finally had it with Cogsdale.
We sent the vendor, Cogsdale Corporation, a notice to stop and a notice that we intended to terminate.
When the county first bought the Cogsdale program back in 2005, the company said that it would be online by the end of 2006. But by the end of 2006, the program still wasn't operating, and the company said, don't worry, They would guarantee that it would be online and operating by the end of 2007. Well, 2007 came and went, and guess what? The program still wasn't online. Turn the calendar to 2008, and stop me if you've heard this before, but the program still wasn't operating. 2008, same song, same problem. The software still wasn't online. But now even the county was saying, by the end of 2009, it will definitely be up and operating. Well, 2009 has just passed, no Cogsdale software, and now the company is asking for one more chance.
After everything that they've gone through and how many years it's been, I think they've had plenty of chances.
Nuremberg came up with a plan that would allow Cogsdale to have the system up and running by June of 2010.
But if they fail, or if they do not deliver on time, they will refund all of the funds that we have paid to them over the last several years, and that amounts to over $1.2 million.
However, neither Cogsdale nor the Board of Commissioners have signed off on the agreement, and even if Cogsdale refunds the money for the software, it won't pay for staff time.
We've had people who have been dedicated to testing this software for almost 2 years now.
That's ridiculous to actually pay that kind of money for a program and it not actually function correctly like the company says it would.
And for now, taxpayers are picking up the bill for staff time and a system that doesn't work and never has. And that's this week's What's That Costing You?
Now, Mike contacted Cogsdale several times, but they never returned our calls.
It is a grave problem that stretches from the cemetery to down on the farm to homes and apartments like this throughout the country and right here in Florida, where the U.S. Department of Agriculture sends farm subsidy payments. Each year, more than $20 billion in farm subsidy payments go to individuals and corporations, and this Government Accountability Office study says over a 15-year period, $1.1 billion in subsidy payments were made to 172,000 farmers who were dead.
Do they know they're sending this money to dead people?
The answer to Anna Carrington's question is no, they don't. According to the GAO study, the USDA doesn't use the Social Security death database to verify that it isn't making payments to deceased farmers.
The GAO was right to say it does not take a great deal of effort to compare the improper farm payments to Social Security records, who has passed away and who has died, and that's what needs to happen.
When we told Tampa Congressmember Kathy Castor about deceased Florida farmers receiving farm subsidies, she said it is unacceptable here in Florida and throughout the country.
It's a waste of taxpayer money, whether it's improper farm payments or improper Medicare payments. America does not have a dime to waste.
And while the Department of Agriculture has spent millions of your tax dollars sending farm subsidies to people who have bought the farm, it doesn't appear to be alone. As a matter of fact, dead people and federal money seem to be intertwined. For example, Medicare spent $92 million on supplies and prescriptions written by dead physicians. And they spent another $8 million sending them to people who are already 6 feet under.
What the hell is going on in Washington?
Ross Mundell, who runs a video blog out of Boca Raton, can't believe the waste, including the fact the Department of Health and Human Services is sending 11,000 dead people $3.9 million to pay heating and cooling costs. The Department of Housing and Urban Development distributed $15.2 million in housing subsidies to family members of deceased people. Social Security spent $40.3 million in benefits for 1,760 dead people, and $22 million in stimulus funds were sent to 71,000 dead people.
The Treasury has no mechanism to get the money back. It would cost $100 million to get back that $22 million. So they're just going to sort of write it off and move along.
Meantime, the Department of Agriculture says it's added additional safeguards, and now only 0.07% of the payments to deceased farmers were made in error. The others were paid to the estates of farmers who are no longer alive.
Wow. Dead people?
And Castor says the federal government has to crack down on payments to dead people.
Ultimately, government officials must take it seriously and make sure that taxpayers' money is not wasted.
But for now, payments to dead Americans is killing the economy. And that's this week's What's That Costing? While the Tampa City golf courses aren't exactly like Augusta National, for some golfers like George Reynolds, on a beautiful day, you can close your eyes and feel like you're there.
Weather's nice, the course is kept in good condition, and they treat us real nice here. We have no complaints, really. And a day like today, just like being at the Masters.
Tampa's 3 city-owned courses, Rocky Point, Babe Zaharias, and Rogers Park, host almost 90,000 rounds of golf each year.
But when you saw those numbers when you first came in,
oh, they're big.
Eric Hart, the fairly new executive director of the Tampa Sports Authority, which runs the city golf courses, isn't talking about the rounds of golf played, but the big number he's talking about is the amount of money the 3 courses are losing.
That number had grown so dramatically over that last year.
Since 2006, the city has lost close to $1.9 million at the 3 golf courses. And if it hadn't changed the accounting procedures it used to use, which included depreciation, that number would be almost $4 million in losses.
We eliminated all overtime. We've changed schedules. We've worked with the civil service system on changing the way that we manage that. We've created some more part-time jobs. So we're on the right track.
While Hart says the Sports Authority is trying to cut the losses, for now it means every time someone plays a round of golf at one of the city courses, and that includes me, we're being subsidized by taxpayers, including those who don't play.
I mean, it's a nice pastime, but I don't think we should, I don't think it's right. No, if you want to play golf, pay for it yourself.
But there are those who see nothing wrong with the subsidy.
I think that's appropriate. I do. Yeah, because we play golf, but they may fish or they may play tennis. They may use tennis courts or some of these other things. We just happen to play golf. So I think it's appropriate that this is subsidized.
and it's not only those who play golf who say they have no problem with taxpayers subsidizing their rounds. Hart drives home the point that it's a quality of life issue as well.
I think a vibrant community has all of these things, and that if you put a price on everything that is out there, we probably wouldn't have a lot of the things that we actually have that make this such a unique community.
But during the same period, the Tampa courses lost almost $1.9 million. The St. Petersburg courses came close to breaking even, losing around $11,000. And the three Clearwater-owned courses turned a profit of almost $700,000. That's because the city leases out the courses and gets fees.
The logical thought would be, if your revenues are down, to raise rates. But that's problematic, right?
I think it's definitely problematic. Part of the golf industry as a whole has overbuilt.
Hart says that means other courses are cutting rates, so increasing the fees at the city courses would probably mean bigger losses. And while the Sports Authority is trying to cut costs because the weather wasn't golf-friendly in January and February, losses will continue again this year. And just like a good putt, taxpayers will get a sinking feeling once again with the city courses. And that's this week's What's That Costing?